Hey everybody, welcome to What Drives Us, episode 3819. God, I already forgot the number.
318.
Okay, can we start over?
Yeah, you want me to start the
Only
music over?
live.
No. Okay, 318. I'm your apparently new at this. I haven't hosted in so long. I'm Tony Schaefer, and it is May the 1st, 2019, show number 318. And we are going to have a journey this week into advanced technology, mobility, and sustainable energy. Fortunately, I don't have to do it alone.
Yeah, you do actually. See ya.
Yeah, I have to introduce Russell real fast, so so he can't leave.
Oh,
So I want to throw it to my co-host and wingman, the man in the bottom left corner of America. He happens to be the only person that's appeared on every single What Drives Us show to date. He is and has always been Mr. Russell Frost.
wow. Thank you, Tony. It's kind of like sitting in the passenger seat of your car.
Feels weird, doesn't it?
It's both wonderful and really horrifying, especially when I see you driving right towards a wall at 60 miles an hour.
Yeah,
Okay.
Tony driving.
But that's okay. I have faith in you. I know Tony's been here since episode 1.
I have. Yeah,
So,
crazy.
I got to give him cred. Danny Cooper's not here this week, and that is coming back. That is going to be the running joke from now on until Cooper makes an appearance.
Yep. All right. So I'm going to move on to our man in Boulder, Colorado, the owner of Boulder Hybrids, where he tears down, repairs, and sometimes reassembles hybrids and EVs. He is Paul Guzik.
That's me. Glad to be back.
What do you have? What do you?
Oh,
Do you have anything in the
same
fridge?
beer as last time. Good juju. So nothing.
Oh, nice.
It's good beer.
All right.
It's the right kind of juju.
That's
What
right.
is that
Yeah,
water?
you wouldn't want to call beer bad juju. It probably wouldn't sell very well.
Yeah, I want a can of bad juju. Said no one.
Yeah, I'm going to open my own brewery. I'm going to call it Skunk Beer Works. We'll see how that goes over.
That would probably work.
Let's get a reputation for having good beer. Yeah, that'd be fine.
All right, I'm going to move up north to the Kitchener-Waterloo area, the Waterloo Region Voltec Group, an EV association, Chevy, Volt, Tesla, and plug-in enthusiast. He is Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. We've got a bunch of interesting news to go through this evening. So glad you're with us.
Yeah, and
Mark, are those hubcaps on the wall for sale?
Those are for sale, Paul.
Should put a price on them. Think of all the exposure.
Next
you'll
week, I'll be putting a Post-it note. Yeah,
How much is the one on the left?
are they all
I'm
the
buying
same
them
price?
too. If you have ones for sale, I'm buying and selling.
Oh my god.
It's an import-export business.
get.
Mark's Wheel Cover Emporium.
I don't know. Trump slapped a big duty on wheel covers, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it in for the embargo hits. Just
Yeah.
get it in under the wire.
All right, so I'm going to round it out with an alt champion for a long time at cleanmpg.com and now in charge of his own YouTube channel. He is in South Carolina with a ludicrous Model X, Mr. Casey Green.
Hey, everybody. So that ludicrous Model X just got its update to the next-gen charging. It'll charge at 150 kilowatts, and it's got the on-road warm-up.
All right.
Haven't had a chance to test it out because I've been laid up sick, so maybe this weekend.
All right.
Back to the drag strip.
Yep.
Yeah, baby.
Uh-huh. Looking forward to it. And so I think that's all of us. We might as well jump in. And I think we're going to start with Russell, who's going to talk to us about our favorite topic, dealerships.
Huh? Oh yeah. Yeah. Car dealerships. Everybody loves a car dealership. And while our friends at Tesla have certainly taken their share of hits with the Tesla Q folks always looking to see where Tesla's storing excess inventory, which doesn't exist, turns out it's actually a big problem. Larry Veliquette at Automotive News wrote a story last week about it. And we're talking about 4.2 million cars right now are on dealer lots. This is a large number. We're talking about a number that goes back over a year where we've had inventory levels this high, and almost going back to 2007 when the recession hit, and obviously lots of cars were sitting on dealer lots. Two things with this now, and forgive me if we've gone over this before. If you know this, you're smarter than the average bear. But most car companies don't sell cars to you. Okay, you go in and buy a car. You're buying a car from a dealer. That dealer has already bought the car from the car company. So Toyota, Ford, Chevy, all of those companies, except for Tesla, sell cars to their dealers who then resell them to you. Wow. Mind blown, right?
Mm-hmm.
What that means, though, is that they have to pay for these cars. And in a lot of instances, like a lot of retailers that carry extensive inventory, extensive high dollar inventory, there are loan companies that do nothing but do what they call flooring loans.
Dealer floor plan.
Exactly. Dealer floor plan. So they present an inventory. The company says, okay, you have this much, we give you this loan. Well, those loans have gone up in many cases from what they were used to, the old loans at like 1.5 to as much as 5%, which means their carrying costs for that inventory every month has tripled. The interest on it, I should say, has tripled. This is a frightening thing. In general, car dealers don't make a significant amount of their money from selling new cars. So if the cost of those goes up, there's not a lot of room there for wiggling around. This is, you might want to say that lots of people have seen this. We've seen layoffs. We've seen cutbacks in the car industry last year, and kind of went, why? We're looking at like 6 or 8 years of just record growth. And looks like we might have peaked. So I don't honestly, in a sense, like, go out and get a car. No, I don't. I mean, wait a couple of months until they're really suffering and then go out and get a car. I want to show you just a couple of pictures from this automotive news article. Here's a dealer that is keeping cars at a local racetrack. Yeah. These are FCA, the Fiat Chrysler group. Those are Jeeps. Those are Ram trucks. Those are whatever you want to.
Dodge Darts.
Oh, God, I hope not, right? For their sake. And then here's another one.
This picture is amazing. That's just.
Oh, that one in large. Okay. Yeah. So there you go. That was taken by the author. Looks like from a drone, or there's a tower somewhere nearby. But again, this is not good. Obviously, you don't want cars that have been sitting around in some storage lot for a while. And dealers don't want to pay for inventory that's just sitting there. They want that inventory to cycle through their little sales lots as quickly as possible. So this could be an interesting development. 2019 is already turning into a very interesting year.
There are a lot of implications that are just touched upon in this article. And one of them was, and I was trying to find, and you had mentioned it, harking back to the last time there was this much car inventory. And it was right before the huge depression, when we saw the huge, the financial resettling, if we will. And what happens is people are starting to get scared. They are starting to push off or just completely not make large purchases. And one of the first things to get scratched off the I'm going to buy this year is a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 vehicle. So they're going to used lots, or they're paying $2,500 in repairs instead of $25,000 for a car. So it's part of, manufacturers are making the cars to keep the factories running, and then they're pushing them on the dealerships. But then you also look at the downstream where they try to keep, 2 to 3 months of inventory backlog. And now we're going up to 8, and in some cases 10. And you have to start asking, what is it about the American consumer that they are not purchasing cars at the rate that they were just a year ago. That's the underlying current of this entire article.
I
I think part of it is for the last 5 years they've had record sales, and everybody who was kind of looking for a new car has bought one. And there's, you know, the people looking for new cars is much smaller than it was a few years ago, and the uncertainty with the economy. So add that together, and no one's buying new cars.
Yeah,
And also, there's been a couple of natural disasters a few years back that ruined a number of cars in, say, a flood-prone area or such, and those cars have been purchased ahead of time. But again, in a batch that caused an entire region to kind of reshuffle their inventories. So that's happened as well.
Yeah, when I was in car sales, all the dealerships I was at tried to keep just over a 30-day supply, which would mean that that the whole inventory is turned over in just over a month. And like you said, it's sitting on 8 months and paying interest on that. It's incredible. One other thing that also has affected this market right now is we're now seeing the final effects of the Cash for Clunkers program. A whole bunch of people who didn't normally buy new cars bought new cars to qualify for that program. And just like the natural disasters, it affected the cycles.
Right. And
cars are so darn expensive. People are keeping their old cars longer.
Yes, I was thinking about the Suburban, the 3-row cloth Suburban. Was it $67,000 it starts at now? For crank windows, and it's not really that bad, but it has no option.
11 mpg.
Right, but it didn't used to cost that much for a box that had nothing in it.
Yeah. And another thing this points out is you think that, I mean, and I know that like Russell said, a lot of our viewers are usually smarter than the average person, but storing a car, like storing anything, like warehousing, it's easy to think that it's a warehouse and you have stuff on shelves and that's it. But you have to, of course, understand that they're actually paying to warehouse. They're paying to store these cars, and every month that a car sits on the lot, they're paying money just to have that car sit on the lot. And when you're looking at tens of thousands of cars over 8 months, that's a butt ton of money.
And depending on the time of the year, if it's a 2019 model and the 2020 model comes out mid-2019, then they've got to discount it drastically in order to sell it, because no one's going to buy last year's model for the same price as the new model. So there's that risk as well to the dealer.
Yeah.
And then there's just the degradation in the car. I mean, so if you get a car that's this year, how long has it been in a field?
Yeah.
Is it going to have problems from the rod, the rubber is sitting there, like the tires and the wipers and the seals.
And all the critters that move into it at the racetrack. The wires.
Those are bonuses, Paul. Just a bonus.
That's
you get a pet with your car.
The rat turds under your hood.
Exactly. A free pet with every purchase.
Yeah. A free pet bunny.
Who could say no to that? What kind of evil Grinch are you?
A small family of squirrels.
All right. So I'm gonna kick it over to Mark, and Mark wants to talk to us about Electrify America.
Electrify America, otherwise known as VW's fund for their black box debacle that happened to them. Electrify America is now installing multiple DC fast chargers across the country. They have installed a great number of them already along interstate routes. And this story was just indicating that they started to add some additional hosts or property partners that are allowing them to install the chargers on their lots. 9 new partners, like old partner was and still present partner is like someone like Walmart that allows them to install on their lot. But these 9 new partners include the grocery store Kroger, the Save Mart companies, Fulcrum Property, Shop Care Properties, Value Rock Realty Partners, Washington Prime Group, and PanCal Corporation, a real estate redevelopment or real estate development company. So they're picking up more and more property owners to allow them to install it. And of course, these property owners are buying for new consumers. They want people to come and spend an hour at their location, and while they're at their location charging, they're hopefully going to be shopping at their establishments. So that's the plus for the property owners. But we just had recently Eric, who has been on our show and has talked to us through the chat room and many previous shows, recently took a trip from Southern Ontario down to Orlando, and he was able to use the Electrify America charger system on that 2,000 mile journey to and from Florida. And although he had to charge more times in the Chevy Bolt, he certainly was able to follow the route along the I-75 down to Florida and successfully have a vacation and come back the same way. So, and he even noted that there have been some additions, even while he was in Orlando, a few opened that allowed him to change his route going home, made it a shorter distance on the way home, a more direct route. So Electrify America is out there. They are putting multiple chargers at these locations, and this article just indicates that there's more partners lining up. So hats off to them. They're doing a good job. The chargers are real. The network is real, and we hope to see more and more chargers on the road as time goes along.
Yep. So they're opening one of these up around the corner for me at a Target. It's about 12 stalls, if I'm not mistaken.
12. Okay.
12.
Yeah.
So some of them are Chattanooga, so I'll go over there and get on the scene and report back.
Yeah. And we've said it so many times that the best places to put the chargers is at a store, at a restaurant, at a movie theater, at someplace so that people aren't just sitting there for half an hour or an hour, just twiddling their thumbs while their car is charging. Yeah, I'll tell you what, if there was a charger next to a Target, I would definitely be in that Target the whole time, and I would probably walk out with some merchandise.
Most likely.
It's perfect. Yeah.
But would you pay for it, Tony?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. That's the first thing I was thinking.
Because this is being recorded, then yes, I will pay for it. We'll talk after the show.
I'm sure we will.
Uh-huh.
Well, I know here in Boulder, the local Tesla supercharger is in Trader Joe's parking lot. So that's a great fit. You plug in your car, go get your groceries, come back out, you got a full tank of gas.
Now, who on earth, who in Boulder has a Tesla and shops at Trader Joe's? I mean, seriously.
I don't know, but they've got like 16 chargers and they're always full. So
and they probably don't even drink coffee either. I mean, how many stereotypes can you just touch on in one sentence right there?
Yeah. So
there's a yoga studio across the street too.
There you go.
Just rub it in.
So obviously, someplace that you're already going to stop and be is great. But one thing I'm noticing as I go through the country and do these supercharger reviews is you need something that can work for late night travels as well. So if the host is 24 hours, if it's a 24-hour target, then that's great. It doesn't matter really where it is. But otherwise, you'd want it to be in between cities on the highway as much as possible. Like if
truck stop,
the turnpike, but someplace that doesn't close because, after driving for 3 hours, you already have to stop for at least 15 minutes and use the restroom.
Stretch your legs, yeah.
Stretch your legs. And if the lights are shut off and the host is locked, it doesn't really feel safe. Like St. Augustine, Florida, for instance, that mall, they shut the lights off. They lock the doors. So now you're sitting in the dark, tied to this machine.
There's bad guys behind the bushes.
There haven't been yet, but there has been an incident where somebody was held at gunpoint on the supercharger. And and
give me your electricity.
Well, they were assuming that it's an expensive car. Oh, they must have some money, rather than is this a school teacher who's stretched to get a car that costs less to run every day? So she's feared for her life, and dude's demanding her wallet.
Yeah, the 24-hour thing is definitely a big plus when you're traveling. Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, the local ones, absolutely. Put it at the grocery store. The movie theater is a little too long, but they need a combo. They need a combo.
And you know what? I think that's a perfect segue, Casey, because speaking of overnight and
Yes.
in between cities, yeah, that's a perfect segue right into your story.
Okay, so the West Coast, what do they call this thing? The West Coast charging corridor is coming up. They're
I-5?
looking on I-5. Yep, they're looking to they're evaluating how they were going to handle the semi truck charging, because that's coming up as well.
Mhm.
You've got so far only the Tesla Semi is like making waves, but you've got Daimler, you've got Peugeot, and a couple others that actually have some local grade trucks, and you don't necessarily want the trucks mixing with the cars, and they have different requirements. Like they have their required downtime. So if you can pick a real common route where everybody has to pull off to do the rest anyway, there you go.
And truck stops are a perfect infrastructure that already exists.
Exactly.
And the truckers are already accustomed to stopping there. They've got the showers, and they've got the store, and they've got food.
Greasy food.
Yeah.
They're open 24/7.
Exactly.
Lot lizards.
Showers, lot lizards, yes. Hopefully you don't use them.
Sorry, I had to dictate that.
Yeah.
I'm bad.
But it just, I mean, I was reading this article and I was like, this just makes perfect sense. They need to electrify the truck stops. That's what they need to do.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if Tesla will partner with, obviously they're going to put the first ones at the depots and at the customers, but are they going to partner with like the Loves and TNA and the others in America to, just, hey, give us 15, 20 stalls and then we'll expand it as we go. Same way they did with some of the superchargers, where they're co-located and they're leasing from the hosts.
I mean, what truck stop wouldn't want them to charge there, right?
They're going to be stuck for at least 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Plus
Exactly.
the requirement for their rest. So if they make that the rest stop, now they're stuck for at least an hour if it's lunch.
And they might sell some of those hot dogs that sit on the
Yes.
screen for
Oh my gosh.
I love those things.
I just grew up a little. Oh, so many Simpsons
taquitos.
references with
the rotating
roller
taquito. I've been there since last week.
Yes.
The roller thing. They
You wouldn't
clean
think
that
it- You
too.
wouldn't,
Yeah, I've
you
seen
wouldn't
it
think
clean
a hot dog could collect dust like that.
That's right. The taquito started as wieners.
What taquitos? We don't have taquitos. Those are hot dogs.
Okay. Well, I want to remind everyone that if you want to read all the news that we're reading, be sure to check us out online. First of all, we have our Facebook page, facebook.com/whatdrivesus. Make sure you leave us comments. I see it's great. I see all the people we see in the chat on Facebook, and honestly, we love seeing the comments and the news article reviews and the suggestions. Keep them coming. Also, if you use Flipboard as a news aggregator, be sure to subscribe to the What Drives Us magazine, because I go in and I post all the articles that we do on the show in Flipboard. Phil Barclay throws some stuff in there as well. So make sure you hit both of those. And now I want to get to an article on why Ford is investing $500 million in the electric truck startup Rivian. And now I forgot, we covered this before. Rivian or Rivian?
They were saying Rivian when I was at the event.
All right, Rivian. So it is. All right. So we touched on this last week. Ford has invested $500 million in Rivian, and that was big news. But the thing that's kind of come around is why? Why is Ford doing this? The original expectation was we had heard that Ford wanted to come out with an electric F-150, but the Motley Fool has proposed a different approach, because it turns out that Ford has what they admitted themselves, that they might have some EPA questioning things going on, that perhaps the cars weren't achieving the MPG that they were saying, and there might be some calculation errors, and it might have been going on for like 15, almost 20 years.
So did they hire some like Volkswagen engineers or something?
Well, and that's the thing. They said that it was the calculations at the test, that they would do the test, they would run the math, they would come back and say, well, here's your answer. Well, apparently
so
no one.
it's just a math. It's just a math
Yeah,
error. That's
It's
all
just
it is.
math, right?
Okay.
And apparently it took him a decade and a half for anyone to figure out that their math was wrong. So the article implies that in order to get ahead of the backlash, Ford is already going ahead and saying, okay, we've seen what you did to Volkswagen, so we're just going to go ahead and we're going to heavily invest in Rivian. And so that's kind of the Motley Fool's approach. What do you guys think? Is this a valid argument?
Yes.
Could be. Yeah.
Okay.
How
No.
do they jump ahead like that? Like there's no. First of all, there hasn't been any formal slap on the wrist from the EPA. So how do they go out and say we're going to get ahead of the judgment that's going to be leveled against us? Really?
Well,
Maybe they know it's coming down.
Exactly. They wouldn't be the first ones who have had this problem lately.
I'm sorry. We're talking about the Motley Fool, right? These are the people that said there was no market for hybrids and Toyota was wasting their money they said that for like 5 years.
Yeah.
Is that the Motley Fool you're talking about?
That's the same. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
So,
Right.
in addition to their powertrain and their skateboard, Ford also admitted that their autonomous technology wasn't quite where it needed to be, and Rivian they're lining themselves up to be pretty strong there as well.
Yeah. It's relatively smart, I think. If Ford had said, and we criticized them, they canceled every sedan except the Mustang. Wait, was there another one? Was it just or was it only the Mustang?
It was going to be the Focus was going to get pumped up and turned into a hatchback like a Subaru, but they canceled it instead.
Okay. So they have the Mustang and the trucks.
Yep.
And for Ford, I mean, 500 million's pocket change. I mean, they make that every week selling F-150s. So
And
maybe
that's
not,
it.
but
do you spend 500 million, buying or leasing or investing in something that's already established, or do you spend 3 billion trying to develop it yourself? I mean, this is just an investment to them.
Yeah, just like Daimler and Toyota did with Tesla, was they did what they needed, and when the stock hit where they wanted, they sold out, collected their money, and then boom, here's their in-house solution. Or in Toyota's case, just cancel electricity yet again.
Yeah, or in
One or the other.
Toyota's case, invest in Tesla, help get things going, and then say, you know what, we're not too big on batteries.
Yeah,
Again.
Yeah, again.
And they made good money on that deal.
They did.
Yeah, it
Although
was a good stock play for sure.
Had they hung on another couple months, they would have been even more.
Yeah, and they could at this point have good electric vehicles. But,
Yes.
so, I mean, we can hope that Ford does actually pull their heads out of their butts and maybe see this through and actually come out with an electric F-150 that actually people buy.
Yeah.
We can only hope.
I think it'll be fine if they listen and implement from the experts. There's also another thing that they can put out there that people don't necessarily look at. They get to stick it to GM. Because
GM talked to Rivian first,
Mhm.
and Rivian would not agree to the GM terms as to investment.
Or maybe the Ford terms were better.
I would guess so.
Didn't GM say that it had to be exclusive?
That was the rumor, yeah.
Yeah, and then Rivian said, well, we want to develop our own trucks and we're shopping this around to other people. And at that point, GM said, nope. Yeah.
Yeah, I think dodging a relationship with GM is probably a good deal. Not that Ford's like a wonderful, but Ford makes better decisions in general. Let's just put it that way.
They had more money, too.
Yeah.
No argument there.
and more market share in the truck space.
Number one.
Oh, yeah.
Number one.
Yeah. So I also uncovered at driving.ca here what you could say is a rebuttal argument to Rivian. And so this article is called Dissecting the Numbers Behind Rivian's Electric Pickup. And so in this article, he goes through and looks at things like, the range, the cost, the weight, and the overall, is it feasible what they're saying? So basically what Rivian is saying that they're going to have a 180 kilowatt hour pack that'll do 400 miles. So first and foremost, we start there. And he says 400 miles from 180 kilowatts. And what he did was he compared that to other manufacturers. And he was saying that getting 400 miles out of a 180 kilowatt hour pack requires either, extremely dense batteries or extremely efficient motors.
Or a very lightweight vehicle.
Well, and I'm not even on the weight yet. Yeah.
Okay.
And so what he had said was, 45 kilowatt hours are depleted for every 100 miles driven. The Chevy Bolt only needs 28 to do 100 miles, and the Rivian would be burning 45, which is extremely inefficient compared to that. And then he gets into the weight issue, and based on current numbers, he came up with a fair guess, he says, at 2,670 kilograms, which I don't know off the top of my head.
Is that an American?
Yeah, I'll have to do that. 2,670
times 2.2
kilograms to pounds. Comes out at 2.5 tons.
Wow.
And
that's a lot of iron to push around.
Yeah, and then and that's one of the things that it gets into, not necessarily in this article, but when you're talking about weight, when you're talking, more battery, and then the battery adds weight, and now you start, at what point is the battery working just to move itself?
That's always been Elon's argument against why he won't do bigger batteries in the Teslas, even though they could charge for it. And also why Rivian said that the top model is going to be slower than the mid model because it just has that much extra heft.
It's heavier. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then one of the things is, this is a truck, and it's, and so he breaks it down and he says, okay, the 180 kilowatt hour pack is going to be $100, $100,000 or more. There's just no way to get around that. So you're looking at a $100,000 truck that's going to weigh 2.5 tons unladen. And then you start putting stuff in the back, and then maybe you hook something up to it that you're going to tow. Holy crap. It's going to have a hard enough time moving itself, much less towing something.
So,
well, my bus is 3 ton or 2 ton. Yeah, 3 tons, 2.929.
You don't got 2 tons of building materials in the back.
No, I can only have 5,000 pounds dragged behind it and keep my warranty.
Anybody who watches this show knows I'm not a big believer in magic.
Right.
But David Booth, the author of this, has done some nice little napkin math, but it's just that. It's napkin math. We don't know what the motors are. We don't know what the density of the batteries are. We don't know. Rivian has prototype vehicles that they have been testing.
Yeah.
Rivian's been pretty mellow on the marketing.
Yeah.
They haven't overhyped the thing. They haven't said it's going to leap tall buildings in a single bound or it's faster than a speeding bullet. Clearly what they're making is a luxury SUV and a luxury truck, but also vehicles that will work. Now, I'm balancing on one hand the manufacturer's claims and an author that I'm not super familiar with, napkin math. I'm not ready to dismiss Rivian yet. I want to see one of these things in the wild and see what it actually does.
Yeah, well, the 4 motors, they could very easily do what Tesla's doing with the dual and triple and quad motors, where each one has got different gear ratios. And he's talking about the consumption. The new Model S is looking at 270 watt hours per mile. And, that's only got a 100 kilowatt hour pack, and it's doing 370 miles of charge. The Rivian, I'm assuming that they're going to test it the way they test it, is empty and without towing anything. So they can make this work. Now, obviously, it might be like the Model X, where as soon as you start towing or adding payload to it, it falls off a freaking cliff.
You drop a third. Yeah.
Yeah.
Casey, you were at the Rivian event in New York City. When can we expect to see a Rivian in the wild?
They're saying, what is it, next year? And I had a 45-minute chat with the battery engineer, and I'm not fearful about their ability to build a battery. I mean, you're looking at 2170 cells, and the dude knows his stuff. I mean, he didn't want to be on the record or anything, but he's competent, and I liked what we had to talk about.
Yeah. When I met the CEO and the people at the LA Auto Show, it was the same thing. They struck me as very reasonable, very competent people putting out a product that they were confident in. It didn't smell like a lot of the hype that I'm used to seeing.
And the vehicle wasn't made out of styrofoam.
The vehicles were real. Yeah. I got to climb in them, and yeah. And it wasn't a silly race car with a plastic Batman fin on the back.
Right.
Who are we talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I hope that they do. Of course, we cheer for everyone who wants to enter the space, and we hope success for everyone who does. I'm just, and you know, and I didn't bring up this article just to say, you know, oh, they're going to fail, and here's an article that proves it, because you could find an article that says anything.
Right.
But I just wanted to put this up because we don't have hard, solid facts yet. We don't have,
real world testing yet.
Yep.
Yeah, we don't have real world testing, so we'll have to see what they come up with.
So we've got two more considerations with these vehicles. They are marketed as luxury adventure vehicles, which means that you typically won't use it as a work vehicle, and they're going to be running at low speeds unless your adventure happens to be on the racetrack. So if you're off-road or if you're, sightseeing, all that stuff is going to happen at lower than highway speeds, which will extend it further.
I just the whole idea of a $70,000 to $100,000 truck just boggles my mind.
That's what trucks cost now.
Yeah,
that's true.
Please.
Can't you not pick one of those up in a gasoline model for $80,000 today?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like the King Ranch is like $100,000.
Well, and when I did the Tundra review, 12 mpg. So the operating costs aren't insignificant for these vehicles either. The idea that you can plug it in has a certain appeal. You know what I mean? As opposed to putting $200 in the gas tank every week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, it's one thing when you have a Leaf and you're saving $30 a week. Okay, that's cool. That's totally awesome. But it's another thing when you're saving $200 a week.
Yeah.
In fuel charges. That's meaning, you know what I mean? Like,
and then we have that.
Yeah,
we have that article that Russell showed us. Was it last week before, with the photo of the person in South America just driving by the gas line in their Model 3? Every day you start out full, or whatever you set it to be your full for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day I have enough to get out of the state should there be a calamity that is unforeseen. And then if I know I'm taking a trip, I just set it to 90% instead of 80.
very survivalist of you.
Yeah.
This is just me being lazy in case I forget to plug it in one night and I get to work.
I just hope that it's the construction workers and the people who actually need trucks who are replacing the 12 mile per gallon trucks with Rivians. Because if you're a soccer mom or you're just some dude that bought a truck or a 12 mile per gallon Escalade because you felt that you wanted to buy it, you deserve to pay $250 a week in gasoline. So there.
Yeah, I have a feeling they will do better in this market than they're expecting, and hopefully one of these 6 models is a real work truck and not all the luxury stuff. Because you got the power output, you've got the 4-wheel drive, everything that they need is right there except the full length bed. The 11,000 pounds of towing capacity. It's incredible.
Yeah, we've said it for years and years. We need a truck on the market. We need an electric truck. And I think hopefully this will be the one last pin in the, one last piece of the puzzle that will get people to actually switch over is when they can get a truck, because we now have cars and we have sedans, we have SUVs, the Chrysler Pacifica plug-in minivan. And the one thing that's missing is the truck. And we've got Tesla, we got Ford, we got Rivian talking about trucks.
Like the first truck isn't going to be from a main company, a Ford or a Chevy.
And just a side note to that, just yesterday, GM announced that yes, they are working on a all-electric pickup truck, and I think that's because they were pressured into it. They heard the Ford news, Rivian's been talking about it, Tesla's been talking about it, so now GM came out, and Mary Barta actually indicated that yes, they are working on one. They didn't come out with any details, but they didn't want to get lost in the news feed. They are building one, they say.
Well, plus, if your customers are looking at it, all the competitors have done it. There's 3 or 4 different manufacturers making freaking semi trucks, and you say, "Oh, we can't do a pickup truck." They're gonna lose confidence like that.
Yeah, haven't heard anything from Dodge or Ram. Nothing mentioned there yet.
Never will.
Fiat did just have that unspeakable partnership with Tesla that somebody tried to pin Elon on it. He's like, no, part of our agreement is secrecy.
Yeah,
they may do something more than just buy their credits.
I think Dodge will come out with an EV right after Mazda.
Oh yeah, but Mazda has some nice prototypes running around sometimes. But yeah, they'll probably be kicking and screaming, just dragged into it.
All right.
Well, there you go.
So speaking of trucks and big trucks parked in icing spots, charging spots, ICEholes, that's a really bad thing. Anyway, Paul, why don't you tell us what's going on in Colorado?
Well, there's a bill in the state, was it the House or the Senate? I forget which one, to basically make it a big time fine for icing out an EV station. Kind of like if you park in a handicapped spot with a normal car without a placard, they can fine you $100 or $200, whatever it is. And it's got a lot of support in Colorado, so that's great.
Yep. So this morning I read a post by one of the Tesla groups that just opened a station in New Jersey somewhere, and it keeps getting iced. And there was like one open spot, and the guy saw somebody pull up, and he said something, and they're like, "Oh, well, they're not going to tow me. I'm not going to get a ticket, so F off."
Yeah.
And
If you get a $150 ticket, you might think twice about that.
Exactly. It's a brand new 12 stall station that Tesla spent, however much in hardware plus the rent, and the customers can't use it. And, they have this attitude, this exact same attitude for the convenience charger by the movie theater, one town over from us. And a couple of the owners have written nice notes saying, "Hey, this is a fueling station. Please don't block it." And you get just vitriol and just brimstone and anger just written back. Thankfully, nobody's car has been.
Hang on, you say it's a convenience store next to the movie theater, and they're upset about movie patrons stopping at the convenience store? They're buying the Twizzlers there to take into the movie theater.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
I know if they're taking the parking spaces.
Yeah, so the parking space is gone, and then it's just the messages you get back are just terrible, and it's like, they're the closest 3 spots next to the disabled spots, but if they ran them to the proper spaces, it would cost more, and then everybody pays for that.
Yeah, that was one of the things brought up in the article. And this is one thing that I've heard many, many times in online forums, that, EV drivers are just happy to have the plugs, and they don't need to be the front plugs right in front of the front door.
They could be in the back row.
But they're in like, see, so if the parking lot runs the length of the building, maybe they're right up against the building, but farthest away from the front door.
Those ones are cool, but in this case, it's a parking garage. So to get it to the undesirable spots, you're looking at 4 to 8 times the price.
Yeah, and you have to run the copper, and and that's one of the biggest issues. And it's just usually often more convenient to put it right in front of the front door. And it's really funny because when we were installing
EV charging spots.
Oh yeah, so there's 4 of them. One of them is actually a disabled spot, so you can't even use it, even if you wanted to, unless you're also disabled.
So when we were installing EV chargers at work, and I was, being consulted on how to do it, and where to put them and whatever. One of the things I kept stressing was, don't put it right next to the front door. Don't put them right next to the front door. Unfortunately, it was the cost of running the copper and running the wire and trenching and everything. But then also, because this was a corporate parking lot, they really wanted them right in front of the doors because they wanted customers and people to see that we have them, especially since we manufactured the chargers.
Right.
But, so I kind of lost out on that. But, the argument is there. They don't have to be right in the front door. And then a lot of the animosity goes away because we're not taking the prime spots. We're off at the far end that nobody wants to park at. So don't bother icing us. Park closer to the door.
And then if they've iced you at that point, they're just jackasses.
Right. And Colorado, in Illinois, it is I can't say I call it a crime, but you can call the police, and I could, if I wanted, call the police on someone icing a spot, and they can have them ticketed and towed.
Even in a private enterprise?
Not in a private place, no.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are signs that says
in a private space,
property.
you can still get fined if you park in a handicap.
Yes.
Right. And technically in a private space, we could call the police for trespassing.
Right.
But in a public space, if someone is parked in a charging spot and they don't have a plug-in vehicle, you could call the police in the same way that if they were parked in a handicap spot, and they could be ticketed and towed.
You let the air out of their tires too.
Yep. Or you do that, but then the security cameras get involved, and now you're the vandal. I mean,
so I could get a bottle of soap and attach my tow hitch and a rope, and take care of the problem.
There you go. So yeah, there's so many things we would love to do. I know, but this day of constant camera awareness.
Yeah, I'd probably have to do it to the pickup truck that's got the tow balls and the truck nuts. That way, I'm not damaging anything.
I'm looking at this article. Has anybody got this Mitsubishi ad on the screen? It says the 2019 Green SUV of the Year, Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV, not available in green. But how many plug-in hybrid SUVs are there? Like two.
There's
internationally, there's quite a few actually.
Here in the States, you've got the Mitsubishi, you've got the Tesla,
Kia.
Porsche has one.
Technically Porsche and BMW.
Porsche doesn't count because they only sell.
There's the Volvo X.
The Volvo, the XC90.
Yeah.
You've got the Kia, if you want to count that.
Yeah, more of a CUV kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's a smaller thing. I wouldn't call it a full size. And the reason I actually know this is I recently posted the review for the Outlander PHEV. And Mitsubishi never misses an opportunity to say it's the best-selling plug-in SUV in the world. And I'm thinking, yeah, right. What are there, 3? And I looked it up, and there literally is like a dozen. So it's actually not an empty field. There's a few out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
pretty cool stuff.
All right, I want Russell, who's been quiet this whole time, enjoying the co-host status. I want Russell to bring us home and talk to us about biking.
Oh, you want me to talk about biking, not about the Fourth Amendment?
Either you tell you what, you pick one. Which one are you going to talk about? Because they're both interesting.
I'll make this
biking in the Second Amendment.
I'm going to make this very quick because I think the Fourth Amendment one's really interesting. The Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, this is the Court of Appeals that handles Kentucky, Michigan, Ohio, and Tennessee, or parts thereof. This is a U.S. court. They obviously handle cases that have come up the ladder, as it were. And recently, a case came up from Michigan, a woman who was very good at collecting parking tickets. In fact, she had apparently 15 parking tickets, which in my world is where I just take away your license and cut it up. And then go, you got to take the bus. But I know that's not very fair. That's not very tolerant. And, driving is a right. No, wait, it's a privilege. Anyway, decided to take this to court. She lost locally. She lost at the state appeals, but the Sixth Circuit, 11 out of 15 of which judges are guess which party, decided that this woman had been dealt with unfairly. Why? Because the local police in Saginaw, Michigan were chalking her tires so that they could come back in 2 hours. And if her car hadn't moved, they would write it a ticket. This is a practice done lots of places. Well, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals said, no, that violates your Fourth Amendment rights. And if you're not familiar with the amendments, this is your right against unlawful search and seizure. Now, if there are question marks shooting out of your head right now, like there are mine, it doesn't really make any sense. So suffice to say right now, if you get a parking ticket and your tires were chalked, just saying.
Yeah, but all it's going to do is make it more expensive. They're going to take a picture of your car and compare it against some database. And
Well, in Boulder, Paul, what do they do in Boulder?
In where?
And well, I mean, I know this because when I was vacationing in Boulder with my wife, we watched as we were around Pearl Street, and we watched as a street, I don't know, whatever, street car thing monitor drove slowly around the street. And we asked one of the people, I think we were renting a bike, what the deal was.
Oh, yeah, there's
the
license plate scanners.
License plate recognition and geotagging, and they know as they drive around
And they just drive around and mail you the ticket. They don't even have the little car.
Yeah, so they do license plate recognition, which different than chalking because they don't actually have to touch your car. They don't have to mark any part of your vehicle, and there technically is no difference between having a car and a camera identifying that your car hasn't moved than having a person identify that your car hasn't moved.
They also have here, I guess they have in other areas, they have these like minivans parked on the road with speed cameras in them. So it looks like you're driving down a residential street past a minivan, and then you get a ticket in the mail that shows your license plate, the speed you're going, and you in the driver's seat. And that's pretty effective.
Arizona does that, yeah. Bastards.
Yeah, here they rented a
And they don't look like a cop car. It's just like a minivan.
Yeah, here they rented a camper so that the cop could be in view of the machinery.
And then on top of it, it's not even the police that own the van. Yeah. It's a private company that sells their service, and they split the money with the police department.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get back to the actual constitutional implications of this, but first, I want to show the glorious American police officer chalking the tire with his taser.
Hey man, is that a fat joke? Because I'm going to take offense to that.
All right, well, I'll take the picture down.
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah,
that was a fat joke.
Of all the policemen and of all the policemen and traffic cops. I mean, it's seriously. I mean, I'm not saying that it has to be Eric Estrada, but come on. Anyway. Constitutionality, illegal search and seizure. What exactly does this have to do with search or seizure? Nothing is being searched and nothing is being seized.
You don't have to make sense if you have the right judges on your court.
I can see the search, but it's not an invasive search by any means.
But it's not even a search. I mean, the search is if a policeman says
street, it's not in your garage.
This is true as well.
That was the losing argument, that you have no expectation of privacy parked on a public street.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that lost?
Yes. Wow. Yeah.
Did I mention there were Trump-appointed judges involved in this?
This is true. Some of them aren't qualified, I should point out.
Really?
But again, this is where, like I said, in Boulder, I don't have a problem with the police coming around with license plate recognition and timestamps and geotagging and knowing that your car hasn't moved because there's no invasion. It's a non-invasive monitoring. if they would have taken
You
the
call
argument-
some
It's not
chalk
like they're,
dust
like,
on your tire
breaking windows.
to be evasive? Like,
What?
really?
Brother is watching you.
well, I mean, it's I mean, not invasive like anal probing, but
Wow, that's super invasive.
well, I had to go hyperbole. But it is, they are physically touching, and they're physically doing something to your private property.
Yeah.
Right.
And no, it's not invasive, but it's your car.
Yeah, what if that pole slipped and he scratched or dented your fender?
Yeah.
You know he's not
What?
going to say anything.
What if he tased your car just because he got irritated?
Well, then I'd have him on the sentry mode.
Oh.
Does that mean you can sue pigeons for shitting on your car now?
Hell's yeah.
You already can. You just got to get an address to send it to.
Yeah.
Where do you live, pigeon? Let me know.
Oh, that was Tommy Pigeon, not me.
Keeping trash out that attracts the pigeons
Yeah.
because they shit on your car.
You know, I stopped one joke short of saying that the white cars don't get ticketed as much as the black cars. I didn't even go there.
Oh,
but
man.
you went there anyway.
And he still goes there.
Nice.
All right. Well, but to end on that note, how's that? Guys, I want to remind everyone in the chat, I have one show title, which is Find the ICEholes.
I have a couple from Rick. I liked one that he said called Floorplay.
Ooh,
I thought that was good.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
Great Trucking Ideas.
Yeah.
Floorplay. Oh, great trucking ideas. Yes.
There you go.
How about floor play with your ICEhole?
All right. Adding that one.
Yeah, I gotta write that down.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
Okay.
I love when
Nice.
we like plus up the show
Yeah.
titles. Yes.
Nice job, Paul.
Filthy fossils.
All right. Anyone with one more thing?
I do if Mark doesn't.
Go ahead.
All right, Casey, one more thing.
All right, so in my recuperation from this illness, I've been just browsing Facebook and Twitter, and I've noticed there's a lot of Model 3s getting vandalized while they're parked. One, there was a lady who decided to have a photo shoot with her small dog on the hood of the car.
Mm-hmm.
Another was a young teen sportsman wanted to kick the car. Found another where when the car was parked, somebody had arranged little rocks on the hood, and I'm just amazed that these people don't realize that there's cameras on these things, and at the gall of the property invasion. I mean, because all this is paint damage.
Hopefully,
Yeah, the egg in the car one.
Hopefully, a few of them will be arrested or charged with it, and that'll wake some of them up.
That sure will. Like the egging kid at 010 pointed out.
So
There
did
you go.
all Model 3s have like a factory dash cam, basically?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the vandals haven't figured that out yet.
Apparently not.
No,
Well, they
that,
just turned it on too. What, last month?
Yeah, that
late
that judge
last
in
month.
Philadelphia found out.
Yeah, the traffic judge. Of all.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's painfully aware there's cameras now in Model 3s.
Yeah.
After he massaged the car.
Oops.
All right, Paul, why don't you bring us home?
All right. I'm going to plug my business as always. Website boulderhc.com for service and repairs in the Colorado region, and boulderh.com if you're looking for a used hybrid or EV. Short and sweet.
He's a cool
All
dude.
right. All right. Casey, what do you got?
I've got my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Casey Green, KACEYGREEN. And as soon as that Electrify America station comes online, I'll get a video of that. And of course, I've got other interesting stuff about EV lifestyle. So you've got a lot of Tesla stuff, and then you'll get a little bit of the Rivian content as it comes across, because I am intrigued by that brand.
All right. Mark?
With the Waterloo Region Electric Vehicle Association, you can follow us online at our Twitter feed, WREVA Group, and you can see all our events and meetings coming up. Please feel free to interact and join with us.
Great. And Russell, bring us home.
Sit on the Chesterfield at Tepperman's. That's the beauty of
They're
the
still waiting for you to pick that up, Russell.
Oh, man, that thing is wrecked by now. You know what I mean? And I could use it, to be honest with you. I don't know where you got this episode, but if you want to make sure you never miss a show, subscribe to the show on Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, TuneIn, or iTunes, or maybe even all of them. You know, cover your bases
Ring
a
that
little bit.
bell thing.
Yes.
Ring the little bell, subscribe. We are up to 825 subscribers at youtube.com/whatdrivesus. We appreciate each and every one. I, Tony, all of us appreciate it. Please keep sharing this show with your friends. We want to get to 1,000. We're almost there. And then we'll probably shut up a little bit about it, but we got to be up over 1,000. So, if you like the show, share it with a friend. Share it on your Facebook page, Twitter, whatever, Instagram, whatever you kids are using these days. That's all I got.
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone on the panel. That's Paul, Casey, Mark, and of course, Russell, who took a back seat or the passenger rode shotgun this week. I want to thank everybody in the chat room. Thanks so much for spending an hour with us, guys. I really do appreciate it. And as always, I want to thank Michael Manring for the theme show. Be sure and check him out at manthing.com. Watch his amazing videos. And if you haven't watched them yet, do yourself a favor and go check them out. It's really cool. His guitars are amazing. So that's all we've got for this week. Make sure you tune in or download us next week to find out what drives us.
Oh, there we go. That was my bad. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next Wednesday.